Hello, everyone. This is Mr. Grogan, and this lesson on code.org is lesson 7. It's on sprites. Uh, as you'll see, sprites is a term that you're going to hear a lot from here on forward. When you hear this term for this class, obviously, I'm not going to be referring to the soft drink. What I'll be referring to whenever I to the word sprites, it's going to be referring to a character on the screen with properties that describe its location, movement, and look. Okay, in a way, it's another way of mentioning the word variable. Now, sprite could be anything. Okay, that's and really it's a term that is used a lot in with code.org and with other programming languages to describe a character on the screen with properties that describe its location, movement, and look. I mean, it really could be anything, but they just use the word sprites. There are also some other vocabulary words that do get mentioned a lot going forward. One of which is a property, when that is a label for a characteristic, sprite such as a location and its appearance. And the dot notation is a way that sprites properties are actually used in GameLab by connecting the sprite and the property with a dot. Okay, you're going to see some examples of that as we go along. And there's actually one of the sections has a video that I would definitely recommend that you take a look at. Because that explains dot notation a little bit more clearly. All right. The assignment itself is going to be sections 4 through 11. I'll go through part of it with you, but there are a few things that I do need to explain in this video that will help you better understand what you need to do. All right. So there's also some new code that gets introduced. There's two. On here, there are 2 lines of code that get introduced, but there really is 3 or 4, actually. And one of which it's called a sprite set.animation. I'll explain that in a few minutes. I'm also going to go a little bit more in depth into the comment codes because that is an important thing to know here. So we move right along. On section 2, I'll just quickly go over this one with you. It's not part of the assignment, but I do want to at least briefly mention it. Okay, section 2, basically what this is that it just shows when you run the program, it has an apple and a carrot. All right, and inside the workspace, you'll see that there's 5 lines of code. Okay, one of which is you'll see 2 variables that have already been set, one for fruit and one for vegetable. Okay. The fruit is an apple and the vegetable is a carrot. You'll also notice draw sprites down here. Okay, and what that is, all right, it's actually a universal code, and it's used in all various types of JavaScript, and it's also used in other programming languages too. But what it does is it displays a group of sprites. If no parameter is specified, draws all the sprites in a sketch. What this essentially is, it's almost like a command that you're giving to a computer. All right. It's once you actually have your variable set and your animation set, as you'll see, when you put in a draw sprites code, it's essentially you're just telling the program to just draw the sprite. Okay. And usually it's something that you put on the bottom of your code. Once you have all the coordinates set and the animation set that you want to put in there. Okay. This line here, okay, create sprite. Okay. Whenever you're setting a variable, and that's something that we went over in lesson 5, which was on variables. There was some code that gets introduced in regards to variables. This type of setting of a variable will not only create the name of your variable, but also where it will be, where the coordinates will be on the display screen over here. Okay, so you see some examples there. Okay, it creates a new sprite and assigns it to the variable specified. Okay, it sets the coordinates. This right here is the sprite.set animation label. All right. One thing that you're going to notice on this starting on this lesson, is that on the top left-hand corner, you're going to see two tabs here. One that's going to say code, which is what we're on now. And then there's another one called animation. All right. The animation tab is something that I'm going to be going into a little bit in this lesson, but there's a lot of things you can do with the animation tab. I'm only going to scratch the surface on this lesson. We're going to go a little bit more in depth on the animation tab in a few weeks. All right. But I'm just going to show you some basics today. All right. But I do want to make you aware of it. It's the animation tab allows you to create new animations, and there's a couple of different ways you can do it. 3 in particular. One is that you can choose from thousands of different images that have already been uploaded into the animation library. You could upload an image from online, or you can draw your own. All right. We're going to be kind of focusing on the animation library, this stuff right here, today. Okay. So anyways, but in order to actually put that animation into your program, you have to use the sprite.set animation label. All right. So these are the 5 lines of codes that go into that. Now, if I wanted to change it around a little bit, like if I wanted the apple to show up in the if I wanted to show up, let's say in the top left-hand corner, right, it could show up right there. And if I wanted the vegetable to be over on the left-hand side, you go like that. Okay, that's how you could change the coordinates if you wanted to. Again, just show that as an example. Okay, so section 3 is a video, and it's an introduction to sprites. I'm not going to play the video. I'll play it, if you are in class on the day that I introduce this lesson, I'll play the video. But if you are doing virtual learning, you'll have to play the video at home. But I would definitely recommend that you play this video, because it does explain the concept of dot notation pretty well, all right, as well as some other things. And as I said, the concept of dot notation, it will come up starting in this lesson, but also in future lessons. All right. So the assignment itself is sections 4 through 11. All right. And section 4, honestly, is pretty easy to do. Just follow the directions. All right. Section 5, again, all you need to do there, all right, is follow the directions. Okay. Section 6, I'm going to show to you a little bit, just because it is at first glance, it might be a little confusing, but if you look at if I run this program, okay, you'll notice that there is a little alien character on the bottom right-hand corner, okay, and on the top left-hand corner, top right-hand corner, bottom left-hand corner, you'll see like gray squares there, okay? Now, if I look at the workspace, you'll see that the alien, there's a code that's set for the alien, all right? You have there's 4 variables set, okay? But the last variable that was set is the bottom right sprite, has the coordinates there, okay? But it also has the set animation code, all right? So what we're going to do is that we're going to, for the other 3 variables, we are going to set a animation tab. We're going to use the set animation label right here, and we're going to implement it on all 3 of these other variables. So I'm going to do that right now. I'll go like this, like that. All right. And what we're going to do, so we have our 3 sprite.set animation codes set in. All right. And we're going to look at how this one's done on line, the alien one. You'll notice that the set animation has been set, and and we have the alien label there. But notice that over here where you'll see it says bottom right sprite, okay? Reason why that this picture is even showing up is because we have a variable has been set. Okay. So whenever we are using the set animation tab to pull up a picture, we have to, for this right here, we have to, instead of putting the word sprite, we have to put in the name of this variable. Okay. And also we have to select the, select the picture. And I'm going to show you how that works in a moment. All right. So what we're going to do is that we're going to be changing this and changing these right here. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into the animation tab, and you'll notice that on the left-hand side, you'll see like a little bit of a thumbnail pictures of the animations that have already been set. Okay. So we have the alien here. You'll see a bunny, what they call a flybot, in a red plane. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the code here. All right. And we'll start up here on line 2. Okay. So what we need to do on line 2 is we'll go look at line 1, and we have the variable that has been set as top left sprite. And what we're going to do is that we're going to change where it says sprite on line 2 to top left sprite. Now we have to watch the capitalization. We got to make sure that it's spelled correctly and that it's the correct grammar and capitalization is used. All right. And then we're going to go over here where it says animation 1, and we're going to click on this down arrow here. A drop-down menu appears. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to change it to one of the animations that we'll choose the bunny here. Okay. We'll run the program. And right now it shows up as an error because these animations have not been set. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to line 4, and we'll see that line 3 has a variable that has been set as top right sprite. So we're going to do this. Okay. And we're going to set this one to, we'll put the flybot there. Okay. Line 6. We look up at line 5 and we see bottom left sprite. That's the variable that's been set. So we're going to change this one to bottom left sprite. Okay. And again, make sure that you get the spelling and the capitalization right, or else it's not going to work. And we'll change this to the red plane. And again, that draw sprite code, that just basically is a universal code. Basically, it's just telling the program to take what we have here and draw it. And then we run the program. And you'll notice that all 4 sprites show up on the screen like that. That's how you do section 6. All right. Again, this concept is, it might take some of you a little bit of time to get the hang of it. All right. It does come up fairly often going forward. Right. So not just in this lesson, but in the rest of the lessons on this unit. All right. Section 7 deals with the animation tab. All right. It's a video that explains the animation tab in a little bit more detail. You may want to take a look at this before you go, before you get into section 6, but you'll definitely need it for the other lessons, for the other sections in this lesson, and also for other lessons going forward. Section 8. All right, let's get this loaded up. All right, so section 8, okay, is one where you're going to debug some sprites. When you run the program, you'll notice that this is not done correctly. All right, you'll notice that the ice cream is up front. You'll see something in the background, and you'll see a gray square. Okay, if you look at the what's on the right-hand side, basically you want this here to look like this. And what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to change a couple of things in this code. There's 2 problems in the code, right? It may take you a minute or 2 to find it, but one of the things that you have to be aware of is that you want to make sure that the variables are set, and that when you have animations set in, that they match the variable that you set. Okay. So it's very, and also look at the order in which that they are in. Okay. Because if you'll notice where it says get ready, you want that to be on the forefront. All right. and you want these two, the soda and the ice cream, in the background. Okay, so then as you'll notice that you have to actually set the soda animation first, and then you have to adjust the order of the code. All right. Section 9 is a section on where what you have to do is you have to match the code to the image that it will produce. Just think about it for a couple minutes before you try to do it. It's if you get it wrong, it will tell you which ones are wrong, and you just switch them so that they are correct. All right. Section 10. All right. Section 10. There are 6 activities on here. Just choose one. Okay. Choose whichever one you want. And it's either one where you are creating your own scene or you are fixing the errors that are there. Okay. And section 11 is one that you can play around with a little bit. What they want you to do in section 11 is they want you to go to the animation tab and add at least 2 animations to this project. Okay. You'll see that on here that there's a lobster. Okay. And, all right. And what you can do, if you go to the animation tab, all right, you don't necessarily have to add a lobster in there, but what you notice that on this section, when you go to the animation tab, there's nothing there. Okay, what you have to do is click on where it says new animation, and in this animation library, there are like over 1,000 different little animations here. Okay, you could pick, if you want to go with a music one. There's a number of different instruments you can choose. Food. There's some options here. For characters, there are more than 100 different characters that you can choose from. All right, a couple hundred, I believe. All right, you get vehicles, tools, whatever you want. Okay, what you have to do on this section, right, is that you add at least 2 animations and create at least 2 sprites in 2 different places on the screen. Okay, use what you've learned in this lesson prior to section 11 and apply it. That's essentially what you're going to be doing here. Okay. One last thing I do want to mention, and as I mentioned it earlier in the video, you'll see something there that says comment code inside the toolbox. What you'll also see in the toolbox, and I mentioned it in a prior lesson, is that as we go along, you're going to see more color codings in the toolbox that's labeled by color. And you're going to see a number of different options up here right underneath the toolbox. In this one, you'll see world, drawing. The drawing ones, all right, are essentially deal with the color. This is where you would find the background color, the fill color, other types of colors. All right. The world code is, that's where you'll find the draw sprites. The variables, you'll notice that they're going to have their own code that's set in there. All right. And it's labeled in purple. You have the sprite codes, which is the, create a sprite set animation, and the math code, which I pointed that out to you when we went over random numbers in lesson 6. All right. But also notice that a lot of these color codings, you'll see a gray code there called comment sprites. And what they are, okay, it's, if it's done correctly, it's not going to show up on here on the display area. What the comment code does is that it's a way for programmers to communicate with one another. Think of it this way. When a website or a game or any kind of application is developed that's using JavaScript, and this is also goes for other programming languages too, it requires more than one computer programmer to actually develop it. And with any application, website, game, it's usually not done in one sitting. All right. And oftentimes what the comment code will do is that it will allow computer programmers to place reminders, whether it's like to fix broken code or add code or send any kind of message to another computer programmer that's helping with the website, application, or game, that they need to do this or this. whether it's adding code, fixing broken code, things of that nature. It's a way to, or even just directions. It's a way for them to communicate with one another. And if it's done correctly, it's not going to show up on the final product. Okay, so when you see a comment code on there on the workspace, you won't see it on the display area. Okay, so that's just something to keep in mind. All right. As I said, the concept of sprites, it's a term that you're going to hear a lot from here on forward. All right. And if you have any questions on this particular lesson, please let me know. It's a lesson that may take more than one class period to do, but it's fairly simple. All right. And like I said, if you have any questions, just let me know. Thank you very much.